Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Maliyah Kimble Show. I'm your host, Maliyah Kimble, and I want to first start off by giving a thank you to all my supporters. Thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing my videos. I really appreciate it and continue to do it. And for today, I have a very special guest all the way from Atlanta, Georgia, Armani Liddell. She also has her own podcast.
Hey y'all,
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming. So, for my audience and my viewers at home, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Okay, yep. So I'm Armani Liddell. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, but I moved to Georgia for college, and I have my own podcast, The Right Number. I'm currently in my master's program for clinical mental health. Those are like the biggest things about me right now.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about how you started your podcast?
Yes, so I actually started it in college. It was like Thanksgiving break. I was the only one who didn't get to go home. And it really was just for me to like journey my life. I was going through a lot at the time. So I was just like, I know other people going through stuff. So I just want to put myself out there, be transparent, and just share my journey with everybody. It kind of grew from that into something a little different. It's kind of the same, but a little more faith-based now. But it's definitely just documenting my journey through life, just making sure people know they're not the only ones going through what they're going through.
Also, can you touch a little bit on your childhood and how you grew up?
Okay, yep. I was raised by my dad. Um, for the most part, yeah, raised by my dad. We started off in Detroit. We moved a lot. We started off in Detroit, moved to different parts of Detroit. Then we moved to Dearborn, Southfield, Redford, if you're familiar with those cities. Moved around a lot. Um, what else? We I have two brothers. I kind of grew up as the only child. So all my brothers, they lived with their moms, and I was the only one that stayed with my dad. So I kind of grew up like an only child for the most part. Um, Pretty normal childhood though. Yeah, pretty normal childhood.
And with your podcast, what are some things that motivated you to continue to do it?
I would say the feedback I was getting for sure. Um, my friends that listen, they're like, because I'm kind of known for being transparent, but like my friends that listen, they see my growth, I guess, through the podcast and just how actually speaking about things help you. Um, and just seeing other people too definitely motivated me to keep going. Seeing how far other people has come and knowing that this is a part of what God wants for me for sure. I want to go into therapy. So I feel like being able to be transparent here first and then like learning a lot of stuff from other people that I may have on or just other people in general, it'll help me ultimately with my goal.
And initially, when you decided that you wanted to go to college, did you know what you wanted to major in at first?
Yet when I graduated high school, yes. But like throughout high school, I used to want to be a teacher. I used to didn't want to go to college. But by senior year, I knew I wanted to go for psychology. My dad had a lot of psychology books around, so that probably really would influence me. But I would say yes, I was really big on mental health because I went through my own like phase of depression, and as I was coming out of it, I was like, I want to help other people. So I kind of knew that that's what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do therapy. I just didn't know what kind. So as I went through college, I kind of learned, okay, I want to do marriage and family therapy. That's specifically what I want to do. So it took some time, but all in all in God's timing.
And with your podcast, what was your initial motive when you started it? Like, what did you want it to be based on?
Truth and transparency for sure. Yeah. Just I wanted to be heard. I wanted my story to be heard, just like anybody else. Wanted my story to be heard, but I also want to make sure that my story helped other people. So,
And what are some of the topics that you talk about on your podcast?
so majority of the podcast is based around self-reflection and correction. So, honestly, topics vary from relationships, whether it's a romantic, platonic, family. or it could be like just how to grow into being a young adult. It's like just the journeys that I go through. So everything in life that you think of that you're going through right now, I'll probably talk about on the show.
And what are some advice that you may have to someone younger than you who
Mhm.
may be having trouble in school or with relationship with friends?
I would say be yourself. Something my dad always told me was to give 100% in everything you do. And if your 100% is not enough, it's okay. Keep giving 100 and it'll condition you to doing better. That I feel like that goes hand in hand with school work as well as friendships. But if we're touching specifically on school work, I think that definitely does the job. You have to find what works for you because we all know we are all our different type of learners. So figure out what works for you. I like flashcards and stuff. I like flashcards to help me study. But if you're just, I learned that if I'm not passionate about what I'm learning, I probably won't do my best. So figure out what you're passionate about and then try to apply it to everything. So whatever it is, whether it's math, English, just try to apply what you're passionate about to fit that subject just to help you out. Now, as far as friendships, I would say be yourself 100%. Realize that the people that you're dealing with is somebody's friend. Whether they're your friend forever or not, it's okay. Just deal with everybody being authentically you and doing the best you can in that moment. Because when we grow up, it could be like a year, a month later, we're a completely different person. And we'd be like, dang, I could have handled that differently, or I should have had better boundaries in this situation. We always could have done better. So don't beat yourself up on what you could have done better or what somebody else could have done better because they're trying to figure out life just like everybody else.
And you talked about finding something that you're passionate about. How did you find something that you were passionate about?
Um, I talk about my dad a lot, but he really influenced that all of that because when I was younger, he would make me write down stuff that make me happy. Like if I get in trouble, we get on punishment, all those things. He'll just have me go in my room and just write what makes you happy. And I would literally, a lot of the time, it'd be helping other people or making other people smile or being goofy or something like that. So just write down what makes you happy. Do different things. Even to this day, I've learned new things that I like to do. I like to zip line. Who would have thought I like to zip line? So just trying new stuff and figuring out what is easy for you and then making sure you're doing something every day that aligns with that. And that's how you will create. I feel like that's how you will create a great career for you, for yourself, a great life for yourself, because you don't want to do something you don't like every single day of your life. So if you can control that, why not control it?
And how do you balance your personal life with your school life?
That's something I've been trying to learn still. It's definitely an ongoing journey because life fluctuates in different ways. So when I was in school, I would my community, my support system helped, like my friends and stuff. I had friends that were in their books, but also like we could have fun. We can go out on picnics, we can go out to eat, all those things, or even appreciating me having my own like self-care day. Um, but I would just say prioritizing for sure. Prioritize if you're off at school, school first for sure. But you also want to make sure you're not burning yourself out. So it all comes with what you feel like you can handle as well as the workload that you have. And I was somebody who had a lot of different stuff. Like I was in like a lot of different organizations on top of schoolwork. I was like president of different clubs, plus the pot. It was like a lot. I had too much on my plate. So I had to cut some things down. And it really hurt my heart. Even to this day, when I see different organizations I had to leave, and I'd be like, dang, I wish I would have stayed, but school was first. I was doing all this other stuff and I was slacking in my school. So just prioritizing what needs to be top priority and then what can you come back to and just doing it like that. But I personally feel like school and personal care should be at the very top.
And what do you feel like are the major differences between going to college and going to high school?
Freedom, a little more freedom, but you have to be with freedom is more responsibility. So college is this, it's not just about learning like your book work and your academics. It's not only about that. I'm a big advocate for going off to school because it helped me a lot just with the real world. Because while you're being able to you have shelter, guaranteed shelter with your dorms and stuff. If you're going off to school, you have housing. I mean, you have like a meal plan, all that stuff. You have what you need to live. But as far as being responsible with what you have is a very big thing. And you're learning life skills more so than just academics. As opposed to high school, you're really just learning academics, maybe some social skills with your friends, but and waking up, a little bit of life skills. But college is a big leap, but it's an ongoing journey. You just have to be responsible and you're going to build it. So you don't have to go in like, oh, I have to have all my ducks in a row. I have to have a set schedule. You're going to learn it, but it's just a matter of if you learn or if you play around. So that's the biggest thing. The schoolwork is pretty much the same. You don't go to school all day though. You have like, maybe a 2 o'clock class, 2 p.m. class. And then before that, you'll have like an 11 a.m. You can go to lunch between, take a nap between, go to the mall between. Like you got a lot of time during the day, but it's all about what you use, how you use your time. So just figuring out your routine.
Do you feel like when you went to college, you were like somewhat prepared?
No, I'm not gonna lie. I was in a whole nother state. Well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by prepared. As far as like my dorms and living, I pretty much was prepared. I had food, my fridge was stocked up, I had clothes, I had all of that. Now, as far as just like I would say mentally, not really. Um, but like I said, it builds up, it gets there because for me at least, I was in a whole nother state, so I didn't know anybody. I was looking around at orientation like I was gonna know somebody, didn't know anybody. So you have to start all over again. And that's okay. And honestly, I like stuff like that. I like to rebrand myself and live in the shoes of somebody I want to be in the future. I'm very passionate on just self-improvement. So if I could start all over and be grown up Armani right now, I'll do it. Like just live in a completely different life and live up to her standards as opposed to what I used to do. Um, so it's not a bad thing that you're not prepared. It's actually a good thing, depending on how you look at it.
And when you, in life, when you face obstacles, what are some things that help you overcome them?
Hmm, that's a good question. Circumstantial for sure. Um, my faith is very deep. I believe in God. So I believe that everything happens for a reason and with purpose. So if I'm faced with an obstacle, for one, I'm a perfectionist too, which is crazy, but I'm going to try to do as best as I can. But when I realize I'm not perfect, I'll lean on my faith and just know that if this is something that I'm supposed to have, or this is something that I'm supposed to do or have right, it'll happen. And I just get through. I just be like, okay, it'll work out. It'll work out. It'll happen how it's supposed to happen. And I don't try to stress about it and that's something I recently learned now, actually, because in college, I had like a lot of anxiety about different stuff like quiz due. I have an event to throw for psych club or something like a bunch of different stuff. I was a mentor. So it was like a lot of stuff at once. And sometimes things don't go as planned. That's why I think it's good to have backup plans and also have people to help you and just help you calm down. Because sometimes obstacles, they don't always stop us. They may just prolong us. But if they do happen to stop us, I just think it's important to have a village of people that are there for you and that can uplift you in times of need.
Okay. Well, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of Armani.
Hi, I'm Pastor Rodell Endeluz of Elam Restoration Ministries, and this is my wife,
Charisma Endeluz.
So Elam is a church that is not like any other churches. We are composed of people that literally were imperfect at one time and live lives differently than people that grew up in churches. One of the things I love, and our motto here is that we are a restoration church. We like to get people to the place where they are restored to the purpose that God has called them to be in. So you'll hear people say, I'm Elam, because that is exactly what we are. We have been restored to fulfill the calling that God has put upon our lives. My wife and I, we have this vision of seeing people from different races, from different parts of the world, just being restored, getting to know who God wants them to be. And I'm really excited about that.
One of the things that I love about Elam Restoration Ministry is that we are a family church. I absolutely love the people that attend this church. They're caring, they're loving, they are in it with you for the long haul. Another thing that I love about Elam is that we're a mission-minded church. We are here to reach the lost, not only in America, but across the nation. Our goal is to win the world for Jesus Christ. If you're hurting, if you feel lost, if you feel like you have hopelessness and despair, Elam Restoration is the place for you.
Not just that, if you feel like you're tired of being judged for what you wear or how you feel or what you look like, or you want to be in a position where you have a relationship with God, not necessarily a religion, but a relationship, then this is the place for you. Just like everybody else, we want to make sure you're a part of a restoration process. That way you can get to the place where God wants you to be. Come to Elam.
We are Elam.
I am Elam.
I am Elam.
I am 93 and I am Elam.
We are Elam.
We are Elam. I am Elam. We are Elam. We are Elam.
We are Elam.
Okay, guys, if you're just now tuning in, I've had the pleasure of interviewing Armani Liddell, who has her own podcast. And if anyone wants to check out your podcast, where can they find it?
Yes, so on YouTube, it'll be under just my regular profile, Armani Liddell. But if you want to just look at some clips or promo, stuff like that on Instagram, it would be TRN Pod.
Okay. And with the topics that you talk about, do you ever get like inspo from anywhere?
Definitely. A lot of the topics that I talk about will be stuff that I talk with my friends about. And I'll just kind of, everything that we talk about, I'll shift it into like a podcast just to make it relatable to everybody, not going too deep into our personal lives, but just making it generic so people can relate. Or when I go to church, if I hear something really good, I'll apply it to my life. And once I've been reflecting on it for a while, journaling about it for a while, and I'm ready to bring it to the public, I would definitely bring it to the podcast episode.
Okay. And with journaling, what are some things or some tips that you may have for someone who may want to start journaling themselves?
I would say just write what comes to your mind. At first, I used to listen to music and then write down what I feel about the song. I don't know, it's just something like, what do I feel after listening to this song? Or write about my day. Of course, write about things that I learned. And then I like to ask myself questions if say I'm at church and I hear something good, or I'm watching somebody else's podcast and it sparks a question like, okay, do I do this for myself? Or what are some ways that I can improve in this area? Or how do I want my life to look in set amount of years? I'll ask myself those questions in my journal and then answer them authentically. But you guys just got to be 100% with yourself so you can actually see improvement with the journaling process.
Okay. And with your podcast, what are some goals that you have that you want to see in the future?
If you would have asked me that a few months ago, it was nothing. I just was podcasting. I was just like, okay, whoever it touch, it touch. But honestly, now I want to see it. I want to see it touch a lot of people. I want to build a community of people, and maybe even like host like community service events, and just maybe like a group chat of people where we all just are able to be vulnerable with each other and talk about life. I just want it to be like the base of something much bigger than just a podcast. if it gets to something I can do full time without ever having to work, or I can just do that with my therapy, then yes, I would love it. But I do just want it to be right now a base of something much bigger than just a podcast.
And how was the transition from high school to college?
Um, that's a good question. That's a really good question, actually. Um, I would say it was cool. It was refreshing for me. I've always wanted to live in Georgia. So it wasn't even much to do with college, more so to do with Georgia. I wanted to live there. So I was just really happy. I felt proud of myself for achieving something that I set for myself and really working towards it. Because high school it wasn't hard, but it was like a lot of stuff going on my senior year. And it was just like, okay, I really had to be in crunch mode. Like I really have to work. And I just being able to feel like all that hard work paid off. It was like beautiful. It was a little scary being somewhere I didn't have any friends around, but I was ready to go. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people was homesick. I wasn't even homesick. I was ready to go. So it was good for me.
And how has your college experience been so far?
I keep saying cool, I'm sorry. It's been really nice though. Um, I remember always saying, this is like a movie, like it's a movie. And I would definitely say it feels like a movie because you see a lot of stuff, like the plot twists, the happy moments, the sad moments, the sick moments, the financially stable moments to the broke college student moments. Like it's a lot. Like it was a lot. I had to learn to manage money, like I said, better than I ever knew how. Because it was times when I didn't have a job and I didn't want to bother my parents or friends or family members back home with my burdens. And as I get older, I realized they weren't burdens. They would have loved to help. But in a time, I was just like, yeah, I don't want to bother nobody. I just want to have it all together. I don't want nobody to think I need them because I don't need them. I could do it by myself. And that's not a flex. You know, we should want other people to know that we do need them still sometimes. And they want to be needed as well. So I would say that. Um, Other than that, it was fun. I met a lot of great people and I met some not so great people. That's just life. So yeah.
And with being away from home and being around new peoples and new cultures, how did you stay strong in your faith?
In my faith.
Hmm.
Okay. I would say, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't really deep in my faith until like my senior year. I always knew God, I always loved God, but I didn't really like have that stronghold of I need to stay strong in my faith until my senior year. Um I still had morals, I still had standards and boundaries and all of that, don't get me wrong, but on purpose for God, it was that wasn't until my senior year. And I would just say he did all of that changing within me. I invited him into my life authentically and purely, and he did all of that. He helped me to this day set boundaries that I need to set. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you lose friends, sometimes you gain brothers and sisters. So it's definitely a different type of thing, but God has to do that within you for sure. Before I intentionally let God handle that, and I was just going merely off of my own morals and my own standards and all of that, I I wasn't like worse off at all, not too much, but it was definitely harder to stand firm in who God called me to be and what He wants and how He thinks so highly of me. It was hard for me to stand in that just with my own strength as opposed to having God's strength. If that makes sense.
And also,
Okay.
also, what made you decide to go to college out of state?
So, like I said, I always wanted to live in Georgia. Now, I wanted to live in Georgia because I used to come visit Georgia to see my cousins, maybe like two, three times. But every time I came, it was just so fun. Like it was so much stuff to do. I really thought I was going to be in Atlanta, Georgia for college, but I was in a city 2 hours away from Atlanta and it was the country. I was like, okay, this is not what I thought. I didn't do no good research at all, but I really wanted to go to a HBCU, and I'm still happy I came to this school. I'm not gonna lie. I'm glad I went to a HBCU. That was the two main things. I want to be in Georgia, and I want to go to a HBCU.
And how has your experience been since going to an HBCU?
It's been beautiful. I love seeing all the Black excellence. I love it. I love seeing it's not even when you hear HBC, you may think it's historically Black, but there are a mix of cultures. So I love seeing everybody just come together in such a unified way. And we put on so many different events and just show so much cultural appreciation for different cultures. It's so beautiful. And then the bond that everyone has is just, it feels like home for sure. It feels like a safe space. And like I said, of course there's ups and downs anywhere you go, so it's not like 100% perfect at all, but it definitely uplifts me and makes me feel like I can do this. So
And if there's anyone out there who may want to start their own podcast, what is some advice that you may have for them?
I would tell them to just do it. Definitely just do it, but on the logistics side of things, figure out what you want it to be first. Figure out who is your audience, of course. Figure out what you want to talk about. Figure out how are you going to do it. I started with a phone and a laptop. So you can start with anything. Definitely people, as long as what you're talking about relates to what they're going through or relates to something, they're gonna listen. But honestly, the truth is just do it because nothing is coming in between you doing it besides yourself.
Okay, thank you for coming.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And I loved your podcast, girl.
Thank you. Make sure you
No
guys
problem.
make sure you guys go subscribe to her channel and go watch a couple of her videos. Also, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.